think this was the same Pope that Nick Fuentes uttered despair and grief. Should he be condemned by the Pope for his quote-unquote racism and his quote-unquote far-right beliefs? And you saw me look up videos on YouTube from the Piers Morgan interview, because that was the interview where Piers Morgan asked him, hey, you're a Catholic, and what would you think? How would you feel if the Pope if the Pope called out your misogyny or your racism, etc.? And Nick Fuentes, basically, for me, I think he praised the Pope instead of condemning his globalist beliefs, which I'm about to show you right now. And maybe he's unaware, or maybe I don't know. But yeah, for Nick being a nationalist and the Pope over here, he's clearly a globalist. It's contradictory. Also, I'm very adamant about looking up people that have a mainstream platform that make executives and rules and mandates that govern society, because I want to know where their background, where their beliefs come from. So I look up if they're Freemasons or not, because Freemasons, their belief system, their ideology, they want a global brotherhood. They want a human fraternity. Maybe that's why with all these secret societies like Skull and Bones, they have fraternities, brotherhoods that you can join. And other colleges that aren't really, high scale, these are just for fun, right? But other colleges like Yale and Harvard, from what I've read, these fraternities, they prep people up for after college they can be placed in politics, and so they could run the show. They could start making mandates that all in all pertain to the brotherhood, that reflect their Masonic beliefs. And on the surface you may think, hey, there's nothing much to it, but when you look deeper and deeper, you'll start seeing a connection between Masonic beliefs and these politicians and the executives they make. So Freemasons, they want a global brotherhood, a human fraternity. They want the human race and not individual races, not individual ethnicities, not nations, not countries. They want a human fraternity. They want a new world order. And also, I found in this article not too long ago, which I covered on my channel plenty of times, Pope visits Masonic Turkish Museum. Yeah. Leo pays homage to Turkish Masonic politician. Progressivism in the church. And I think the Freemasons are the ones ultimately responsible for this progressive ideology. As soon as he landed in Ankara, Turkey, on November 27, 2025, Pope Leo, XIV, I don't know what numerical order number that is, went straight to the mausoleum of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, who is considered the father of the Turks, to pay homage to his legacy. Ataturk played a decisive role at the end of the Ottoman Empire and in the establishment in 1923 of the Turkey Republic, of which he was chosen to be the first president. However, Ataturk is also a recognized Mason, as we can verify in the last document below, issued by Freemasonry itself. Now then, why Pope Leo XIV would pay his respects to the symbolic Mason as the first act of his visit to Turkey? The question is open to discussion about whether it was an imprudent diplomatic initiative or a show of clear sympathy for Masonry and its ideals. Since we have seen previous conciliar popes with strong affinities with Masonry, it is difficult to not think that Leo XIV is following the same policy. Furthermore, Ataturk probably also played a role in the Armenian genocide, if we are to believe what serious Armenian sources state. Although some scholars consider pros and cons on the topic and do not reach a definitive conclusion, it is not necessary to stress that in this controversy, the Turkey government denies any criminal guilt. If the American claims are true, and we believe that they are, then the Pope would have given the prestige to a mass murderer as well as a known Freemason. And here are some pictures right here of his visit. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. And they have it, this website's pretty good as far as this article goes. They have it underlined here. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk was initiated into Freemasonry in 1907 in Macedonia Resorta Lodge number 80 under the Charter and Constitution of the Grand Orient de France. It was likely his involvement at a young age in Freemasonry that inspired his idealistic tendencies in life and gave him the inspiration necessary to achieve victory in the great work he would undertake later in life. And here's an article on Yahoo News, and I don't know particular. It comes straight from DPA International. So he was in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican for the Wednesday general audience, according to this file photo. And its article was published June 22nd, 2026, 6:56 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's about a 1-minute read. According to AI, key takeaways: Pope Leo XIV warns against any increasingly fragmented world order and crisis in multilateralism. No thanks, but I'd rather America be the greatest of all countries in the world. Calling for renewed commitment to cooperation. And anti-globalists like myself fear this cooperation because it comes with compromise and it comes with collaboration. I'll have to forfeit some of my national individual beliefs for the sake of the collective. And I pursue individuality, not collectivism. I want my country to have its own borders, its own people, its own culture, its own constitution, its own beliefs, its own, everything. So, hence, I don't want to be a global citizen. I want to stay an American citizen. And this cooperation increasingly compromises your unique beliefs for the sake of being friendly or inclusive or tolerant of others. And so that'll erode the greatness of my country. Pope Leo XIV warned against an increasingly fragmented world order and a crisis in multilateralism during a visit on Monday to the headquarters of the UN's World Food Program in Rome. Leo called for renewed commitment to multilateral cooperation at a time of crisis. No single country could surmount the global challenges on its own, he said. While countries were increasingly devoting their resources to national security, economic growth, and internal stability. The close link between these issues and multilateral cooperation was being neglected, Leo said. Yeah, they blame nationalism for a lot of stuff, for all the world's problems. Anybody could get in trouble for talking about nationalism or for nationalists. There's many derogatory adjectives thrown our way. Racist, homophobic, transphobic, narrow-minded, bigoted. The Christians, you can make fun of Christianity. They do it all the time in mainstream media. But God forbid you talk about Buddhism or about polytheism or about Jews or about any other religion, then you're considered a hateful person, a hateful bigot. He added that, and so nationalism, Democrats will see that as the blockade, as the barricade on why the world increasingly still has food problems, water problems, why the world doesn't have world peace. The rulers of the world will only give us world peace if we cooperate. So all in all, it's forced cooperation. They present it like it's an option, or they hide under democratic values or inclusion and all this other stuff, but all in all, it's forced cooperation. They won't give us world peace unless we cooperate with the world. He added that human dignity was no longer consistently at the focus of international action. Leo said that humanitarian concerns such as combating hunger were falling down the list of international priorities. He described hunger as one of the most urgent problems. More than merely a humanitarian concern, hunger erodes social cohesion, heightens the risk of conflict, and fuels forced migration, he said. Moreover, it undermines the capacity of states and societies to build resilient institutions, provide effective education, and foster sustainable economic development, Leo said. The Pope praised the work of the UN body in fighting hunger globally. In that spirit, I wish to appeal to the governments and peoples of the world to renew and strengthen their commitment to increase the resources dedicated to combating hunger and its root causes, and to remove the obstacles that prevent aid from reaching those in need, he said.